am here with Bender.
And I'm here with Sydney, and this is BS Astrology.
What's up, y'all? We are coming from our respective places of home because life is insane this week. So we're just making it work. Um, we're talking about episode 12. This is March 24th to March 30th. And just as like an eye thing for people that might be watching, I'm going to be looking up at a chart and some notes. So it's not that I'm just off in la la land. I think I just needed to say that for good measure. How you
It's
doing, better?
I'm good. I'm just riding the waves right now. You know,
Yeah,
you're still in eclipse season. This episode, we're going to talk about another big eclipse moment. But
yeah,
mostly, I'm just feeling. We were talking about Neptune transits the other day, and I think Sid put it well about sometimes transits just like dragging you by your hair through life.
yeah,
And that's how it feels right now. How about
yeah.
you, Sid?
Yeah, this I really, during the eclipse in Virgo, I was like, I wonder what this eclipse is for me. Like what this eclipse season is. And I was like, nothing's happening. No, everything is happening. It's
Every-
fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Mhm.
So we're just yeah, trying to go with it. So
Sid, you probably asked for some energy when you were like, nothing's happening. And the eclipse was like, oh, really?
I don't know how things are going to shake out, and I feel like, probably really won't until the eclipse, the second eclipse really hits, which is later this week for us. We are recording on March 19th for the week of March 21st, 4th through March 30th, just so people know, like we are a week ahead of ourselves. So we are firmly inside of this eclipse liminal space. Which reminds me, we should maybe just go over a little bit of housekeeping at the top. We're both still seeing clients. There'll be an end card at the end of the episode with ways to get a hold of us. I make sure to put charts for each day starting at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So you'll want to adjust those charts for your time or just, go forward back a few hours depending on where you are in the world. But we're both in California, so it makes sense for us to have our charts that way. Um, and then do you want to do a rundown of like kind of the major players for the week?
Yeah. So, again, big old week coming up. Just to go over real quick some of what we're going to be talking about. We've got Venus and Mercury are both still retrograde in Aries. Uh, Venus will be re-entering Pisces this week, which I'm excited about, is a word for it.
Mhm.
Mars is still out of bounds. Mars sucks right now. So we got that. It's the last week of Neptune and Pisces. So we're going to be concluding that, long-term story of Neptune being in Pisces. And then, of course, we're going to have the solar partial eclipse on the 29th in Aries at 9 degrees. It is a north node eclipse. Mercury is going to be Kazemi with this eclipse. So that's another crazy thing.
Well, Mercury is going to be Cazimi, but not during the eclipse itself.
Right.
But it does happen this week, so there's a lot going on this week.
Mhm. And then within 3 degrees, we're still having that Mars trine Saturn holding. And then within 1 degree, we have Saturn sextiling Uranus. Um,
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
those are the big players. All right. Okay, so let's get started. We're doing Monday, March 24th, 12 p.m. chart, but we're talking about times that are happening all during the day, starting with the first aspect that we have in the day with the moon in Capricorn. At the very last degree, we have a sextile with Neptune in Pisces. So this is, one of her last little sextiles that's happening here. With very pregnant Neptune, I think this is just kind of a dreamy, intuitive, um, kind of a calming balm kind of feeling around the visions that we're holding.
It's moon in Capricorn, so it's very grounding for any dreams or visions that we have. And what's
Yeah.
really nice is we're kind of waking up to that, at least on the West Coast.
Yeah.
We're probably kind of already awake by then. It's 8 a.m. but it's a really nice way to start the day, especially since the rest of the week is going to be kind of crazy. We'll take
Yeah.
wins where we can get them.
I do think that there's something about, when planets are at that anaretic, that last or first, the 0 degrees or the 29th degree, there's a kind of like intense push to do something with that. And so I do kind of consider this a working aspect. It wants us to, work towards achieving our goals in our visions, right? In our dreams. So I think it's a nice, I agree. I think it's a nice aspect to wake up to. Um, we have,
Like we've been talking about this kind of this story of Neptune and Pisces coming to an end. So any aspect that's happening with this Neptune right now, I think is like really trying to like finish that chapter.
yeah, it's like trying to feed the dream.
Yeah, and Moon in Capricorn, yeah, it's gonna be productive, I think. This is a good way to like start a productive Monday.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Mhm.
So let's just go later on into like half an hour later, we have the moon will enter Aquarius. So now we get to a space that is still ruled by Saturn, unless we want to do modern, Uranus and Taurus, which still kind of brings a little bit of interesting, an interesting kind of electric flavor
Mhm.
for that moon in Aquarius. But now, if we kind of consider it the moon being the people, we are thinking about community. We're thinking about the collective goals and the ways that we can connect to each other, which we can like. And that, there's the thing I think about Aquarius moons is, again, that Spock kind of thing about them, right? Where they can be very, like, extremely warm-hearted, but they're not really thinking about themselves. Instead, they're really focused on everybody else, for better or for worse.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a detached warm-heartedness, right? It's like a love for the collective.
It goes to everyone.
Yeah,
It
there's
does.
like this great sense of humanity, but like it's not mushy. Yeah. So, and it's a lot of like, I want to do good. Let me logically, because it's an air sign, right? So it's like, let me logically think about how we can make things better for people.
Yeah. So
Um,
I think it's great because, I think for Monday in particular, this is the day that we wake up. I mean, everybody has the case of Mondays, whatever, but we can get some stuff done.
yeah.
We really can. So, first aspects that the moon in Aquarius makes will be that sextile to Venus in Aries.
I think this is an aspect that can really bring out the best of Venus and Aries.
Okay.
Because we just talk a lot about Venus and Aries being, I mean, Venus is not doesn't do great in Aries, right? We've been talking about how it's in detriment.
She's in detriment.
Yeah, in detriment. And uh I think that with Aquarius, it's kind of encouraging us to think about again, we talk about like with Aquarius, it's what
True.
I bring into the collective. And I think that we can kind of get a little bit of something going on uh
Yeah.
with this aspect.
Yeah, I definitely think it's like being able to ask ourselves, how do we do our best individual work within the collective in order to join us all together? Venus is harmonizing. She is joining. That's her an essential nature. Though in Aries, there's a little bit more of a cut kind of aspect to her here. But maybe this is, I now know how I want to move forward in the care that I take,
Mhm.
and create, good boundaries around my emotions in order to be able to do these things.
Mhm.
It's a good way to start. Like, it's a good way to get things done in the day. Like, that's boss babe
I
vibe.
think it's gonna be a nice Monday. It's a nice Monday morning.
Yeah.
So
Moving forward, afternoon, this is kind of the big guy for the day. 12:48 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have that Sun conjunct Mercury retrograde in Aries at 4 degrees. So this is Cazimi. Do you want to talk about what Cazimi is for those who do not know?
so the Cazimi is when the sun and Mercury are basically right in contact with each other. Uh,
Within 17 minutes would create the most I think it's medieval by medieval or Hellenistic standards to be like the most purest sense of Kazemi, the being reborn, all of the Mercury impulses and the ways that Mercury behaves is kind of being washed away or burned away by the sun's rays. So now it will be born as a better Mercury, is kind of how it's like it's sitting with the king, the sun, and it goes, "Hey, sun, what am I supposed to do?" And then he's like, well, I need you to do these things, and you don't need those things anymore. And here's some Super Saiyan powers. And it's like, cool, cool. And then it goes on its way on the rest of its retrograde journey with this new sense of being.
Yeah.
Super Saiyan.
What'd you say?
The Super Saiyan. For that moment, he's like, ooh.
Yeah. And I like burning away. And I think that's what happens anytime a planet comes into really close contact with the sun, right? Is it can kind of it gets fried. And with Mercury's a little bit more comfortable with that kind of contact with the sun. Cazimi is not uncommon. Uh
For
and
any planet to go through.
yeah, and it's definitely like a burning cleansing. And
Mhm.
like literally just like burn away whatever is on that topical point. So, and it's an Aries, so that's particularly hot and fiery.
Especially because the sun is exalted. So this is a kind of exalted burning away from the best king that there could be. There's some Martian Mars issues in the running in the background with it being ruled by that Mars and Cancer out of bounds, but I do think for all intensive purposes there could be a better understanding around the ways that we need to be communicating and processing and going forward. It's one of the better, like the astrology in general is kind of trash, but this place here, if you need to have a conversation, a very important conversation during this period of time, choose around 12:48 to maybe 1:30 p.m. and you might get the kind of clarity and understanding that you need. That's
Try
what I'm thinking.
things around that, I would
Yeah.
say.
Send the email.
What'd you say?
Send the email.
Yeah, send the email, have the meeting. I do think that this could be a moment if you've been speaking impulsively during Mercury and Aries, this might be a time that you address some of
Like it
the
actually works.
yeah. For sure. Maybe it's the time to just say what you need to say.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that's kind of the big thing that's happening right around midday, 12:48 on Monday. Around 2:32 Pacific time, we're gonna have the moon in Aquarius conjuncting Pluto. So we've talked about these moon Pluto conjunctions before. It's definitely about penetrating into our deepest feelings. It's very revealing, it's very transformative, and it's in and we're talking about the moon in Aquarius, right? So again, we're talking about things relating to the collective and our roles in community.
Yeah.
So,
And also with Moon Pluto conjunct Pluto too, there is really an intensity here. So, I think that there could be potentially groups of people acting in some sort of way, around our Pluto and Aquarius issues that we are now having happen in our society around, fairness and how people are being treated and, government institutions. There could be something happening there. Um, and, Moon Pluto contacts in general, they don't always have to be bad, but I think with what the weather is right now, there's so much Aries energy, and I think that there is like really a depth and an intensity that's kind of happening here that might feel quite strange to those that don't have to deal with Pluto on their day-to-day level. why is everyone so fucking mad?
Yeah, why is everyone being so freaking intense right now? And keep in mind that that's going to be coming right after that Sun Mercury conjunction. So it very well could be that you have some big conversations that maybe needed to happen, but they're going to bring up some stuff.
And it can also be catharsis too, right? Pluto can invite a sense of purging and eliminating around some stuff. So this could be around issues of community, right? You have the hard conversation or the piece of information comes out. Something is communicated to the people that is, whatever it needs to be. It is the truth. It is something we all needed to know. And then there's some sort of catharsis and action that happens as a result to it.
Right. Um, so again, it's a moon transit, so it's going to be brief, but there could be yeah, it could be a really big intense moment that
Yeah.
comes around midday there. And
Hmm.
then at 3:22, then we move to that moon in Aquarius sexiling Sun in Aries
Hmm.
at 3 degrees.
The working aspect. You can get some more stuff done. Now you're motivated. You got motivated emotionally, and now you're pushing through.
Yeah, I mean, even through some of those more intense, sorry, that's my dog. Through some of those more intense aspects, this still feels really productive and like there's a lot coming up to be worked with on this Monday.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So and then that brings us to 5:08. And then we've got Moon in Aquarius exiling that retrograde Mercury in Aries. Um,
Yeah.
so obviously earlier in the day we saw the Sun Mercury conjunction.
The Kazemi.
Sorry, what?
The Kazemi, yeah.
Yeah, the Cazimi. So we're seeing similar themes here with these same signs, right? With Moon in Aquarius, a little more gentle, sextile, that retrograde Mercury in Aries. So I think that honestly feels like thinking about all of the things that you had to do throughout the day, right? And kind of emotionally processing some of what was discussed.
And it could be like, yeah, a revisiting of conversations that you've had or realizations you've had. Um, Being able to discuss the things that you have found or been feeling. Also, it gives you that ability to, and maybe to detach from how passionately you've been
Mhm.
feeling or thinking about these things. So again, it's good. And late night, a lot of people will be asleep. It's of such a minor aspect, but I do think it kind of sets us on our path to Tuesday. We're gonna get 11:39 p.m. We get the moon in Aquarius, semi-square Saturn in Pisces. So it's like almost almost getting to a place of feeling settled, and then it just doesn't quite fit.
Yeah.
It
It's
just
not
doesn't
quite
quite.
fitting with something that's going on in your life or the way your life is set up. You've been processing these emotions, and now you're like, how does that fit in with the rest of what I've got going on?
Yeah, there's some frustration in considering that it's meeting up with its ruler, that Saturn in Pisces. It's almost like the moon in Aquarius is like, I am in a communicative, thinking air sign. Why are you in water?
Yeah.
Like,
And this is
oh,
back to what we were talking about, how Aquarius is not mushy,
yeah,
right? Aquarius is compassionate and a humanitarian, but it is not a mushy, feely kind of guy.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that contact with Saturn and Pisces, yeah, it's like, why are you crying? Kind of thing.
Yeah. And so, if we're feeling a little bit unsettled, I think one of the good things that we need to know as we go into the next day is that this little feeling is something that we're going to be working with. Um, so let's move forward into Tuesday, March 25th. We now have another semi-square in the morning at 10:31 a.m. We have the moon in Aquarius semi-square that Neptune in Pisces. So again, coming up air, cold, communicative, thinking, processing air comes and hits a wall of water in this kind of sideways, like, oh, I didn't really quite see you.
Yep.
Um, that I don't like that. So
Mhm.
I'm just not gonna deal with it. And
And
then
keep in mind because this day is the story of semi squares, right?
yeah, yeah.
So many semi-squares. It's just a lot of discomfort. It's a lot of, yeah, I think you put it well. It's like things coming up where you're just like, I wasn't expecting that, and now I don't know how to adjust
Yeah.
the
And
thing.
we have the moon right after this hit, it goes and trines Jupiter and Gemini. So all of a sudden it's like all of the ideas are flowing. It's like it hits the wall of water, it's deluged all of a sudden. It's like and then it comes up to just like I have all of these ideas and I have all of this information, I have all of this data, I have all of these different ways of thinking and going in all of these different directions. And we love the mental flow of that air trine of Aquarius and Gemini. It is data, 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 like all of the data in the world. But
All
there's no um root
Mhm.
that's really happening here.
Right. It's not grounded.
Yeah.
And the void, of course, begins right at this moment. And also keep in mind that this is all under the shadow of the eclipse that's coming in a couple days. So there's definitely a lot of this like ungrounded, yeah, flow of ideas. And again, we're going to talk about some of the semi squares coming throughout the day, but it really is just an idea where you have all these ideas, and there's just a lot of discomfort about what to do with that information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but good, like it's at 10:39 in the morning. That's going to be closer to midday for East Coast folks. So this is definitely an energy that's going to be carrying us through like the middle of Tuesday.
Hmm.
And then into 2:09 p.m. It brings us into another semi-square. It's that moon semi-square with Venus in Aries.
Yeah. So where she had, what was it, the sextile, right? Where it was able to communicate. Now it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know.
The
I
two
don't know if I really agree with that conversation anymore. Like, we're not seeing eye to eye anymore. Kind of,
like the conversation you had yesterday went really well, and then today you're like, wait, I'm realizing that you
yeah.
said something, and now I'm realizing that it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah. So, and then we're there an hour later, 3:02 p.m., we get Mercury in Aries, sextile Pluto in Aquarius. So now our communication gets a intensity boost.
Yep.
It gets a let's go deeper into what we're communicating. And with Mercury being in Aries, there could be an anger to this, a passion to this. Um, it could be really just speaking, just again, speaking before you think. And like Pluto wants you to think. And so there is the working aspect of the sextile saying, like, you can do this. You can, if you choose to,
Hmm.
but the intensity of the conversations that might be happening at this point could feel very uncomfy.
Yeah. Not explosive, but I would definitely say uncomfy. It's definitely one of those, it could be an agree to disagree kind of conversation. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely some frustration.
And actually, let's say it's probably and it disagree kind of conversation because we go into those aspects later in the day. I'm just gonna I want to bang out the three that happen at 5:38 p.m. Moon semi-square Sun, not great. 7:20 p.m. Moon semi-square Mercury, not great. 9:44 p.m. Moon in Aquarius quincunx Mars in Cancer. So these are not like it's like
It's
oh
uncomfortable.
got that that's not great, that's not great, and then there's a bit of like an emotional outburst, frustration, a potential fight. I
Yeah, important to remember when we're talking about these are all moon aspects, right? So when we're talking about these moon semi squares again, we're talking about like emotionally in your body,
Yeah.
you're just gonna feel unsettled and
Yeah.
not yeah, and you're gonna have to confront some things that are gonna make you feel emotionally uncomfortable or emotionally uncertain about things. So
And then there's that outburst in the evening and like babes cry it out because we get that 10:43 p.m. moon sextile Chiron in Aries. So we have all of these frustrating, deep kind of moments. And it's during the void, of course, you can't really feel like you can start any new processes around this. You're just in the process that has already begun. And then the moon comes and says to Chiron, like, hey, do you maybe want to cry about this? Like, it does not feel comfortable for me to like cry, but I am known as the water bearer, so maybe I should try it out sometime.
Maybe I should give it a try. Yeah.
It could be a healing aspect. There could be some sort of wisdom offered to us, a teaching moment offered to us for us to like understand a little bit more about the particular wounds that we hold.
I think that this actually, especially with Chiron and Aries, right? I think with Chiron and Aries specifically, we're talking about some of the wounds that can come from our impulsivity or our wounds that come from initiating things.
Mhm.
So I do think that there can be,
Maybe a detachment.
yeah, and as attachment, and I think a healing in letting yourself sit with things and not just blowing past things, right? Like especially with all the discomfort that's going on right now, I think this is going to be the question of, yeah, we have something to learn here about just sitting with our feelings and sitting in the discomfort.
Yeah.
Um,
I do like that. And, that it's in, air and fire. It keeps you a little bit above going into the well of water
right.
that you would maybe fall into inside of a Chiron wound of like, oh, I'm just drowning in this, like, not being able to fix myself or what self-judgment and frustration around not being able to heal oneself. Now you're a little bit lifted above it. And so it's, again, sextiles, working aspects, you can work with this in order to get some good work done around your own healing journey.
Yeah. And again, we're hot on the heels of the eclipse. We're like in eclipse season. So I think any opportunity to heal or confront some things that need to heal is a good use of eclipse energy anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So
Maybe.
do you want to do Wednesday, March 26th? We're getting closer
There.
to the
Yeah.
eclipse. Now it's Mercury's day, it's hump day.
Mhm.
We have this is the day of the semi-sextile. This is the day of the aversion. Nothing's quite fitting or clicking together. It could be that with the aversions, there's little breaks in conversation and understanding and emotional fulfillment. It's like you almost get there, it breaks. It almost gets there, it breaks because of the aversion kind of aspect.
And we talked about this last week with a lot of these minor aspects, so it can kind of feel like playing dodgeball a
Yeah,
little, right? Like there's just a lot of like constantly having to readjust. Like as soon as you try to set an expectation, something's going to be like, nope, it's not that.
yeah,
So yeah, definitely a lot of wiggling around and trying to get comfortable and not quite getting comfortable.
yeah. We do in the middle of the night, especially. I feel like, if you're a person that takes valerian root or takes magnesium, this might be a really good night to be doing that because the semi-sextile to Saturn, middle of the night, I think that's just kind of like weird fear dreams around like almost falling off a cliff kind of stuff. And then, but 3:06 a.m. is the moon square Uranus. And we know whenever there's a hard aspect to Uranus, there can be some sort of shock or jolt or like electricity bolt, an insight, a
There
crack.
can yeah, there can be an insight or an inspiration, but it comes from something really jarring. It can come from something that doesn't feel great, but you get that clarity of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, this feels like waking up in the middle of the night, like, oh,
Yeah. Waking up from a nightmare and being like, oh, I know what that was about.
yeah.
Because
And
yeah,
then
it's gonna be middle
it's
of the night. I mean, even for or you're gonna be just waking up
right, East Coast.
if you're East Coast. Yeah.
It's
So
interesting energy to wake up with because it's almost like just being full of an electricity that is pushing you to do something about it.
mhm.
Um, I do like the biquintal, that was weird. That the moon has to Mars at 8 a.m., if only because it could potentially make people feel like they are in the game to like move forward and to do something like uh
Feel a little creative about
yeah.
the
Yeah,
energy.
I was looking up the biquintiles to Mars, like moon Mars, like early because I was like, how does that really manifest? And in some kind of takes on it, it's like it pushes you to be competitive
Mm-hmm.
and to want to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I like that. It's I don't necessarily like that Mars is in Cancer, but
So, like there's some like playful teasing almost.
yeah, I mean, let's hope for the best. Because now we're back to the semi-sextiles. Noon, we got the moon semi-sextile Neptune. So again, there's some sort of maybe not emotionally feeling comfortable with the dream that is being offered, the illusions that are in front of us, the glamour that we're being presented with. Um,
Also, that could also just be a discomfort and just like not knowing where it's coming from, kind of feeling some Neptunian fog
yeah.
around, just like something's not working, but I'm not really sure what.
It feels like a weird, almost like emotional outburst that's like you don't know how to, like, how does it come out? Like, is it a tear? Is it a cry? Is it a sob? I don't know. And it's just locked, kind of locked in there, like being dealt with.
Or you're like crying and everybody's like, "What's wrong?" And you're like, "I don't
No idea.
know." No.
12:31 p.m. We got the moon going back into Pisces, and so that's when she is going to maybe feel a little bit sorry for herself.
Yep.
Maybe feel a little bit mopey, a little bit sleepy, a little bit hazy, a little bit confused. Definitely, we're in that realm of being. I always think about moons and Pisces, and also like just Pisces placements as being super absorbent
Yeah.
and like osmosis. So it just like is receiving without even trying. And so it's like feeling like very full. And if we think about the modern ruler being that Neptune that's so pregnant, it's just like being full of every emotion that there ever was.
Yeah. Pisces knows no bounds, right?
Overwhelmed.
And so we can be taking a moon in Pisces can be taking in emotions and energy that aren't even theirs. And then it suddenly becomes like, I can't tell which feeling is mine and which feeling is yours and where mine begins and yours ends. Um,
Listen, I have a Neptune moon contact, and there in my life has been a period of time where, and my moon is in Gemini, so like it's a very thinky, um, data-driven kind of moon. It's more up here than like down here, in the gut of like feeling. But at one point, I ended up having to ask myself, I'm like, like, are all of these feelings mine? Because
yeah,
I'm so receptive. It's like, are all of these feelings mine? And I remember getting really, really quiet. And I was like, oh no, they're not. Oh my God. Okay. And there was like, because of the opposition, there was this awareness that everything that I'm feeling is not mine
yeah.
and that I get to try to do the sifting and choosing around not allowing all of those things and, learning like emotional boundaries and being really good about my boundary. But when we just have all of this Pisces energy in the sky, now we just have a moon that knows no bounds, the emotions that know no bounds.
Mhm. Yeah. And through the afternoon and evening, we're taking this very absorbent, squishy, high
Squishmallow.
emotional, deep moon, and we're just making it really uncomfortable and we're poking at it.
Yeah. And she's just like bumping into Venus and Aries, which is in a fire sign. It's like, go, go, go. And Pisces is like, no, but like, can we float a little?
We have to wallow in
Like,
this.
why aren't we floating? And Venus is like, I gotta go. And then we get the semi-sextile to Pluto, that Pluto's like, I mean, you have some depth to you, but are you really doing anything?
Hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of talk.
Yeah. And then that semi-sextile to the sun in Aries, where, when the moon and sun aren't communicating well, we just feel discombobulated and we feel frustrated and we feel uncomfortable. We don't feel good inside of our own skin
Yeah.
because we can't figure out why, like, the heart and or the head or the mood and our bodies aren't like they're not clicking together. They're not.
And I think it's particularly interesting when it's between Pisces and Aries, right? Because when we're talking about the cycle,
Yeah, endings and beginnings.
yeah, it's like Pisces is the point of death and Aries is the point of birth. So I think there is always kind of this discomfort between these two signs of like things that have to end in order for things to begin.
Mhm.
And kind of being in that in-between space where neither has quite happened yet.
Yeah.
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 So.
Yeah, I think this day definitely feels like potentially being like on the precipice of something bursting. You know, we have,
Which it is the right before the eclipse. So I think
yeah,
that there is
it,
some truth to that.
yeah. Later in the day, we have a moon semi-sextile Mercury in Aries. So again, not necessarily being able to communicate all of the things that we're feeling, you know, and there's disjointment with how we're being able to like actually process and think about these things. So like take a breath. Like if you can push the conversation for a day, if you can just try to get really quiet within yourself or slow down, that's what I would think, you know, would be best to do because there is nothing but frustration in the 11 p.m. aspect of the moon sesque square Mars in Cancer. There's nothing but frustration in that moment and could definitely be like that feels like a sobbing fit.
Yeah. Oh my God, when Pisces and Cancer get together, they love to cry. So,
Yeah,
yeah, this is super, super watery. Yeah, we've got it going out of bounds. We got Mars out of bounds. So we've just, yeah, just like extreme emotion. We've talked about out of bounds planets before.
they
Uh,
behave a little erratically.
Erratic, overblown. Again, it's gonna be late at night, so yeah, I think that Sid called it. It's really a time where the most productive you can be about it is just like let yourself fucking cry.
Yeah.
Let it out in a healthy way. Try not to let it out on other people.
Yeah.
Especially with that Mars and Cancer, that can be a little sticky if you decide to project your feelings onto other people.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Again,
could
it's gonna be late
definitely,
at night, so hopefully you're alone by then or
right? Or able to lock yourself in your bathroom and cry. And then we go to bed with the moon in Pisces, semi-square Chiron in Aries. We feel hurt, and maybe we hurt ourselves. We had some sort of emotional outlet or outburst or processing that ends up being in our own detriment.
Yep.
To our detriment. We have something has happened to our detriment. We did it. We did it to ourselves. And sometimes, I mean, we all have that day where like you get like kind of processing something and then you decide to unlock the weird box in your brain where like and you're like, I hurt myself.
Yeah, ouch, yeah. But what if I just poke this bear a little bit?
Like,
Yeah,
I'm just
like,
gonna
oh
poke this.
no.
It's the box that says almost healed, and you're like, ooh, scabs to pick.
Yeah,
Cool.
yep.
Yeah. So go to bed. Go to bed instead.
Go to bed. And again, when we were talking about Pisces and Aries and those endings and beginnings, I would say just really make sure if there are things that need to end or things that you need to wrap a pretty bow on. I think this is a good time to meditate on what needs to end before you can begin. You know, where are you putting the cart before the horse a little bit? Yeah, definitely just making sure that you're not trying to run past something before you've concluded it.
Yeah.
And that can be especially with the Chiron and that and the moon. Definitely just like emotional stuff that you haven't addressed or hard conversations, whatever.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
So let's move into what I think will maybe be a little bit better of a day. We are going into Thursday, March 27th. I'm going to put my little cute chart forward. 2:21 a.m., Venus re-enters her place of exaltation, albeit retrograde. She's backing up into it, scooting her cute little butt into Pisces. And we what she is, she's just like scoot, scoot,
She
scoot,
is.
scoot.
And she's like trying to go back into her comfort zone, right? She's like, oh, bring me back to Pisces. This Aries crap sucks.
I forgot something. Just excuse me.
Excuse me, I'm gonna head back. I love Venus and Pisces. I think we talked about this back when
Yeah.
Venus was in Pisces back in January.
Yep.
I think it was January, end of January, right? January 28th, something like that.
Something like that.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Um,
But she's got that cute conjunction to Neptune.
hmm.
So at 6:13 a.m. So it's like the first thing she does. She's like, Neptune, let's ride.
Yeah,
Like,
he's like, swallow me in the dream. I
yeah,
want to be in the dream.
She is in soft rolling blankets.
Mhm.
She is just hanging out.
Is it realistic? No. Does it
Oh,
feel really good?
yes. I definitely think that what we're going to kind of collectively feel with this is like uh the edge coming off of how we are feeling about our our need nature, our love nature, the things that help us feel connected and secure,
Mhm.
right? And so it's like a soft blanket has come over the sword that we've been like walking around our houses with, and another thing and another thing, and then like it's like Venus comes in Pisces and like wraps you in blankets like it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put the sword down.
Okay. We're so
Uh-huh.
I think I like her there. Obviously we know that when Venus goes direct, she's gonna have to go through Aries again, but she will have a renewed sense of this ultimate sense of love and compassion for herself and others, hopefully.
Mhm.
I'm really interested to see kind of what happens with news around women because of the Venus principle, Venus being about women,
Yeah.
um, and like about social graces and how we are in society together.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that maybe some of the things that have been kind of enacted in terms of like laws could potentially have a little bit of a reversal effect.
Mhm.
Who knows?
Yeah. And so again, I think that when we're talking about the between Pisces and Aries, I think I said it for Wednesday, but it's super apt here. It's going to be a time to be revisiting things that we didn't quite close the book on yet.
Yeah,
It's been retrograding through Aries, wanting to do these new beginnings and kind of like blaze forward. Venus retrograding back into Pisces is like, I think there are things that I didn't address or that I kind of skimmed over,
Mhm.
that I need to kind of go into the depths to in order to be able to move forward in the ways that I want to.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a big part of it. And I would definitely say, you know, look back on late January into
mhm.
February when Venus was in Pisces first time around this year, and what
Really,
was going on for you? Uh,
yeah,
where is Pisces in your chart? What has Venus been doing in your chart?
yeah,
What was it doing around that time? Because you're going to be revisiting things from January. As far as it was a huge moment collectively for the US right before it went into Pisces was the inauguration. And so the Venus and Pisces was definitely when we were just starting to see a lot of these the new presidential administration kind of just doing what they were going to do. And we weren't sure what was going to come of it all yet. We were all just like kind of like sitting in fear, watching it happen.
yeah,
And now we're going to be revisiting that. And we certainly have more. We're still pretty disoriented, but we do have a lot more information than we did back at the end of January.
yeah.
Those are kind of things to be thinking about as we're talking about this retrograde, is what was happening in January that you gotta come back to now. Hmm.
I like it. I think it can also maybe even revisiting like art projects that you started at that time, right? Or like your poetry, your spiritual practice, right? Maybe you dropped that when Venus went into Aries. You're like, I'm taking up running or I'm taking up martial arts, instead you're like, oh, okay, let's go back to meditation. Let's like go back to yoga. Let's
Yeah, it's gonna be spirit, like it's gonna be retrograding back into my 12th house. So for me, it's definitely spiritual practices and
Yeah,
things like that. Uh,
yeah.
so yeah.
I dig it. But we do have a what's kind of go forward into 1 p.m. Moon square Jupiter in Gemini. So Moon is in Pisces and it will square its traditional ruler in Gemini. And this is, there's a lot. It to me it feels like there's a lot going on and I need to do something about it, but I have no idea what I'm going to do.
hmm And it's a lot of Pisces kind of having these dreams and Jupiter and Gemini wanting to be like, oh yeah, like I love these dreams. Let's talk about these dreams. There's so many. And like Gemini kind of like wants to feed into that, but isn't offering, again, this is a mutable square. So there's
Mhm.
a lot of ideas going back and
Punches.
forth, but nothing super grounded.
Yeah, there's always a roll with the punches with mutable. Like you have to get comfortable in change, and it's in that last quarter crisis of consciousness square. So it's like, oh, I have to roll with the punches. I don't want to, but I'm going to. I have to, especially when it comes to the ways that we can kind of expand forward and go forward in better ways. So,
So that's kind of the big one of the afternoon. And then we have another semi-square at 6:55. Moon in Pisces is going to semi-square Pluto in Aquarius. So again, just like uncomfy.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and that's that, that it's kind of like on the way home when you're on the way home from work or something like that, where you're just like, that didn't uh, that didn't feel great. Okay, cool. Like I was told to roll with the punches and I'm trying to, but that doesn't feel great. But we do, the closing aspect for Thursday is really lovely. 11:34 p.m. we have the moon in Pisces trine that Mars in Cancer.
I almost wish it was earlier in the day just because
Yeah.
it'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice, and it's definitely, I mean, it is watery, and they are, when I think of Mars and Cancer out of bounds, and then Pisces as an archetype, I think limitless.
Yeah.
Limitless feelings, like this again, I feel is like kind of like spiritual warrior aspect, being able to have like a really good productive cry.
Yep.
Be-
Yeah. Again, it's Mars out of bounds, so it's going to feel really big. Uh,
Mhm.
but I do think that with those two water signs and they're in a trine, I think it can be very productive. I think it could be I think there can be a lot of self-awareness with this combo where it's like, yeah, my feelings are huge and probably bigger than they need to be, but I just need to let myself feel it for a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think that also, I think this is nice. I think you could be feeling really thankful to be at home on this night, just like really wanting to dig into your creature comforts,
Hmm.
really wanting to dig into being around the people who make you feel safe. And
Not a great aspect for drug use, though. Let's,
and I was gonna say that about with the Venus conjunct Neptune earlier in the day is I think that's the biggest risk when you're talking about stuff with Pisces and Neptune. Um,
kind of this whole day is like, oh, do you want to go on a journey? Don't go on the journey.
yeah, do you want to escape? Because you shouldn't.
This
um,
is
if
big escape vibes the whole day.
Yeah, if you are a person who struggles with addiction or other escapist tendencies, I would be very, very aware of this day
Hmm.
and of Venus retrograding back into Pisces,
Yeah.
and all the things that come with that, especially with Moon being in Pisces at the same time. I would say that yeah, this is definitely going to be a day where you're going to be tempted to fall back into your escapist routine, your addictions.
Habits,
Yeah,
the naughty habits.
the
So
naughty
this
habits.
could be food, this could be drink, this could be drug, this could be how, I mean,
Exactly.
Pisces has that thing where, sometimes it likes to do a little bit of some emotional manipulation, around being a martyr. Everybody else's fault and I am the victim, and it could feel really good to get into that space. And so there is definitely, I think, the caution to do the good self-care to stay out of that space. This is a good time to get really spiritual, but you do not need an aid in order to get there.
No, meditate. Meditation is all you need. But I think what you just said something about crap, it just left my mind. But yeah,
Martyrdom stuff.
what?
Was it the martyrdom stuff?
Martyrdom, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah. Talking about martyrdom with Pisces. Huge thing. And I think again, like with Venus retrograding, anytime you have Pisces retrograde, I think it's always where am I martyring myself? Or am I just sacrificing myself?
Yeah.
supposedly in the interest of other people.
Die for love.
Yeah, like where will I die for love? And maybe just revisiting that and thinking like, do I need to sacrifice myself like that? Is that serving me? Which can be really difficult for if you have Pisces placements in your chart. I know you know this idea of like prioritizing yourself is like, ugh. Um, but it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
So, and
Okay.
that's just a Friday.
Yeah. Friday, March 28th. We are now a day from the eclipse, and now we got, I think, a little bit of grounding energy in the morning. I mean Saturn's in Pisces, but uh
As grounded as Pisces can get.
right. Oh, 3:14 a.m., Moon in Pisces, conjunct Saturn. And then we have right after that, maybe 45 minutes after that, we get, or an hour, 4:38. I can do math. A.m., Moon sextile Uranus and Taurus, which brings like some sort of insight, a inspiration, emotional inspiration around the things that make us feel secure and safe, because there can be something around, being able to figure out where to put cute little borders on these borderless walls. It can be really artistic, a little sextile too. Um, and then we have the moon comes and meets with Pisces, Venus and Pisces at that anaretic degree for some sort of sense of understanding. 12:16 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is in the middle of the day. Like we have moon conjunct Neptune, same 29 degrees, 45 minutes, 113. That in the middle of the day, it's just like juicy,
hmm
pregnant.
Again, because again, we're gonna revisit again with this conversation about how Neptune is about to leave this sign, and we're just edging closer and closer to that very end point. So every single aspect that we make is kind of finishing. That's like another sentence in the last chapter of the story.
Yeah.
So this Moon Neptune conjunction. Yeah, definitely pay attention to how Neptune is impacting you when these aspects happen.
Yeah.
For sure, because we're getting ready to finish a story here, especially with Pisces. Again, we're talking about those cycles. We are going through an ending, right?
Yeah.
And with Venus retrograding back into Pisces, there is a need, there is a necessity to start finishing some of these stories. What is no longer serving you that is ready to die?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it's like meeting up with your love and your grief,
yeah, yeah.
like being able to facilitate like a sense of catharsis, like not like a violent purge like a Pluto, but like in a Neptune sort of way, there's like a dissolving and a like could potentially be, right? This like acceptance.
I think it could be an acceptance. I think it's kind of that understanding that in order to feel joy and rebirth, we must experience grief and death. The two cannot exist without each other.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it definitely when the moon meets Venus in Pisces and the moon meets Neptune in Pisces, this is like, that sad moment in the romantic movie where like you have to say goodbye to like the love of your life, or like, you know, you have to,
Have you ever seen The Notebook?
is this when they die together in bed?
Oh, people die together.
Man, that wrecked me. I was like, I am not, yeah, I'm mushy gushy, but like that moment, it also is like, at the end of Titanic, God, I'm old.
Oh
When,
my God, when they're on the door together.
no, not when they're on the door together, when they're dead and they meet again.
Oh, and the camera's like going through the Titanic and he's standing on the staircase.
That's what this feels like. This is like the hopeless, hopeful, romantic aspect where we're just so pregnant with all of the promise.
So sad and it's so beautiful.
It's
Kind of. Yeah. And
But
I
this is
gotta
over
say,
there.
I am not historically a mushy person. I have a water void. It used to be really hard for me to cry. The end of the Notebook, it's
No.
like a button for me.
Oh no, it messed me up.
Yeah. And well, now I've seen it so many times. It's like my guilty pleasure movie.
Yeah.
And like 10 minutes before that last scene happens, I will start to cry because I know it's coming.
I have looked at my partner and I'm like, we're gonna notebook together, right?
In a notebook. It's secretly what everybody wants. Everybody wants to die with
The
their
love of their life. Oh man. Okay. So right after
there's our dreamy comfort.
we just experienced all the water together. Okay. So 1:36 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now the moon enters Aries, and now we are inside of the sign that we are going to be experiencing the eclipse. And so it's almost, and really because it's later in the day, we're within 12 hours, 15 hours of the eclipse. So now it's like this energy is really starting to ramp up for us. And at 7:15 p.m., that moon comes in sextiles Pluto and Aquarius.
Mhm.
We've had sextiles before earlier, but like I like this sextile because I think that it brings some sort of emotional understanding
Mhm.
around in depth around what we know that we need to do or the new beginning that we are about to step into that is hopefully going to be in service of the greater good. I keep thinking about Aquarius, really having that mind on the greater good, and that Aries moon, has this instinct
Instinct. I think that's a really important word to use when we're talking about Aries is instinct.
and passion, right? Like
Yeah.
meeting up with Pluto, which can be an incredibly passionate planet and an
And a
incredible,
very sexual planet. So we're definitely
yeah,
talking about like tapping into something primal here.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I think you're right. It's like we're Pluto and Aquarius is always talking about the collective.
Mhm.
Moon in Aries definitely is thinking about like what am I bringing to the table with that. Um, Obviously it's going to be interesting on the macro or yeah, on the macro level, thinking about what's going on with the administration and all of that in terms of I think that this is just a great moment to think about what is the role that I play in the greater collective. Uh,
Mhm.
is a good important moment for that as we're coming into the eclipse.
Yeah, agreed. So, yeah, so that's Friday. I think this is very much like kind of feeling like we're wrapping up and then we're taking one step on the bridge on the next path. We've come to the fork and now we're going to pivot onto the next path. We come to Saturday, March 29th, 3:57 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We get a new moon solar partial eclipse at 9 degrees, pretty much. Oh, is exact, which I think is wild. At the
Yeah.
ninth degree, I forget what like the number nine means in numerology. I think there's like a completion energy with a nine.
Completion energy, it's like spiritual. There's a solitude to it, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting for Aries. The nines definitely represent solitude, and like our individual spiritual journey. There's a lot of spirituality with the nines in numerology. Um,
Yeah, I can look up the number. What's the meaning of the numbers? Nine, endings, vision, tolerance, transformation, spiritual consciousness, cosmic, teaching, global awareness, and perfection, which is interesting. The eclipse chart, which will be up, is very juicy. Um, I wrote down some of the little things about it, some quick notes. So the sun moon in Aries at 9 degrees is in the bounds of Venus, in the bounds of relationship, talking about how we join and come together, but it's in Mars's decan. So it's still talking with like a sharp edge. There's still some something here about relationship energy, and this could be the relationship that we have with other countries other people,
Mhm.
with gender. Again, there's always something about that when we come to the,
A really binary sense to this, right? Because
yeah,
Venus and Mars here, uh, it's in the bound of Venus and Mars's decan. So
yeah,
yeah, it seems to be definitely a conversation of like two sides of things, right?
yeah. And we have for the lunar mansions, I'm still like absolutely obsessed with the lunar mansions. I love them now. So this brings us to the first lunar mansion. So where the last eclipse was in the last lunar mansion of 28, now we're in the first lunar mansion, which I like because it's like that wrapping up, and now we're in the very first one. We're number one, which is also very Aries. Number
Mhm.
one. Um, it is the horns of Aries, Al Sharatayn. I really hope I didn't, I probably butchered it. I'm so sorry. Um, the first lunar mansion brings us to themes of conflicts, whirlwinds, quarrels. This particular lunar mansion, so again, this is where the sun and moon are in the constellation of stars in back of it. There is the nature of Mars and Saturn. It is associated with beginnings, again, that idea of one, right? And it gives us and pushes us forward, this particular space.
That's interesting since we're still dealing with that Mars Saturn trine. Like Mars and Saturn are doing a lot together right now.
They're in a circuit. They're like, we are pushing us forward,
Mhm.
forward, forward, forward with our spiritual goals, with our emotional goals, with homeland, with protection, with,
I was gonna say with what you're saying about the mansions here, the mansions are Sydney's area of expertise between the two of us. I'm just along for the ride when Sid brings this stuff up. But I'm curious because I'm seeing your notes.
yeah.
Like war?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely there's a war energy in this chart. We also, if I look at just the chart in terms of in California, West Coast time, right? Uranus is right on the fourth house cusp. It is angular. So this is also, kind of shocking. We have, it rules that Venus, which is with the North Node. There's a lot of things in play here, which I think are really fascinating. Um, the sun and moon are in parentella with Sirius, which is the star of great risk. Power can be dangerous. This can be like, the warrior, there can be a wisdom here, but there can also be kind of a war here. Um,
And
it's
again, this is an eclipse in Aries,
Yeah.
which
And
is
it's with Sirius, one of our brightest stars in the sky. So it can be kind of taken as an omen, if you will. And we have to look at these eclipses again, are great endings, great beginnings, these um shifts in our trajectory, like faded in ways that we could not have necessarily imagined. And it's not that we haven't been literally every day waking up to, oh, they want the Statue of Liberty back. Oh, that,
right. Fuck with that.
I don't know. But like, these things that we could have never imagined having happened, right? And with it being a solar partial eclipse, and I think about the sun being exalted, is something exalted about to be eclipsed,
Yeah,
like a king,
like a king,
like a king.
like a dictator.
Like a dictator. And especially because we have to think about what is ruling this eclipse is that Mars out of bound. He is not in his good sign. He is actually in his fall. He is behaving poorly. He's behaving badly.
And when we think of that, let's talk about Mars behaving badly, right? Because the way Mars wants to function is directly. It wants to charge forward in a direct line. So when we're talking about Mars in Cancer not functioning well, I always like to bring it back to like the way a crab moves, right? They're kind of like going back and forth and kind of like trying to zigzag and like catch you off guard. Mars in Cancer can choose action by way of manipulation,
And emotion. I just want it, so I'm going to do it. Is it smart? No. Does it care? No.
It can be like so passive aggressive, manipulative. It can be propaganda,
Mhm.
right? That's kind of the nature of Mars and Cancer. And Mars doesn't like functioning that way. Mars is the doer. Mars isn't trying to add all this extra gunk to confuse you and make it harder to move forward. That's exactly what Mars and Cancer likes to do. So that's what we're talking. And so now, yeah, comparing that to if we're talking about the eclipse of a king, or a dictator,
Mhm.
what might that mean?
We'll see.
We'll see.
I mean, we all have our own hopes about that.
If you're using if what we're saying has gotten you hopeful about something happening to Trump or something, I just want to say you really have to look at we would need to look at what's happening in Trump's chart or maybe even Elon Musk's chart.
We would definitely need to be looking at the chart of him or any other dictators on this planet, which we have plenty of, but we're just looking at
So
the pregnant potentiality that this eclipse holds. We also have Mercury on the Aries point. He is at 0. He is on the world point. This is some piece of information coming out, right? Something being communicated that impacts all of us and we all here on this world stage.
but it's on air. It's in again. We're talking about Aries energy, so it's not going to be like peacefully communicated to us. It's going to be like, bam, there it is, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it can be about war, right? It's in Aries. This is the quintessential war sign, right? It can be about military people, right? It can be about how literally our military is run,
Yeah.
being ruled by that Mars in Cancer, which is around protecting homeland. This can be, all of those things, but we just need to remember that because Mercury is in this, it's baked into this eclipse chart at that very, I mean, crucial. And it could be a piece of information that we heard a little bit of because now it's retrograde, where it's like, did you hear it this last time? Because I'm going to say it a little bit louder and we're going to have to deal with it again because Mercury is going to come back again. So this is something coming up that we're going to have to grapple with, continue to grapple with after he goes back into Pisces and then forward into Aries again.
And I think it's important what you said in terms of like, did you hear me the first time? Especially when we're thinking about the timing of how these things happen, right? I think it's easy to get mistaken when we're talking about these aspects happening that, and it can happen sometimes that like right at the moment that an aspect happens, or right at the moment an eclipse happens, something happens in the world that is reflective of that. But that's not always the case. It's very often that it's things that are happening around the timing of that aspect. And I think it's important to bring that up because even right now, Sid and I are like a week behind what we're talking about right now. So we have no idea what's actually going to come of this as of right now. Um, but we are seeing even right on this day, what's today, the 19th, that we're
Yeah.
seeing this. Even right now, we're seeing signs of what these aspects are telling us. We're seeing other countries that are starting to prep their military. We're seeing the EU starting to talk about kind of their quickly evolving relationship with the US, and who can trust the US. We're talking about military intervention. We're also seeing the Trump administration talking about invoking military law.
Mhm.
We're seeing kind of the military and we're seeing police forces starting to protect Tesla dealerships, which is so goofy in a really scary bad way. But yeah, so just to keep in mind kind of how these things tend to unfold.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We have, so just for reference too, if people feel compelled to go back into time, just news-wise, Mercury was at this 0 Aries degree on March 3rd, 2025. And then the next time it's going to hit this degree, so we have one more pass, right? Is going to be April 15th, 2025, before it's free of this situation. So whatever comes up, and again, Mercury can be the messenger. This can be the message of war. This can be messages of war and warfare. Um, ideas around how different countries want to do that or how our country wants to do that. So it's just something to keep in mind. Super fun. Later today, though, after Mercury has this moment, it's going to go back into Neptune, back into Pisces and conjoin Neptune in the same day. So it's like I have a message and then I got to go back and get some more of something.
Some more subconscious information or something. Uh,
Yeah. There's the ruler of this eclipse, Mars, is close to a sextile with Uranus and Taurus. So, again, about our land, about our economy, um, there's definitely stuff around that. Uh, Mars has wide applying trines to both retrograde Mercury and Venus. So it is feeling motivated to really enact upon the visions and goals that Mercury and Venus have. Um, it's working on it, or it's going to be trying to work on it because it's so wide. Like, I think it's like, how wide is it? Hmm, it's like 6 degrees. So this is a long time. It's going to be kind of trying to work for that, whatever that vision is, whatever that dream is. Um, and whatever happens here is definitely also impacting the nodes. Not that the nodes aren't important because the nodes are what make the eclipse happen, these points. So, Mars is in an implying sextile to the south node and applying trine to the north node. So it's really Mars being the ruler is really trying to push us forward
yeah.
into a new frontier, literally a new dream. Um, and one of the things that I also think is incredibly important about this eclipse is Mars is in a very tight square with Chiron.
Yeah. Which is so volatile. It's
Yeah.
volatile. And it can actually, definitely when you're talking about Mars and Chiron, you can definitely be talking about physical injury here. Uh,
Yeah, or wanting to take action because you are hurt.
yeah.
Like I'm in pain, so I'm gonna lash out. Like that square makes you want to take action, and it could be that something has happened that makes these, messages of war happen, kind of thing.
I think that in a micro and macro and a micro level with this eclipse, I think there's a lot of conversations about how we handle conflict in general, and also kind of asks us what it means to be brave.
Mm.
I think,
And also about masculinity.
yeah, well, I was about to get into that
Oh,
is no, yeah, and it's a great point. Like you and I are on the same page, right? When we're talking about what it means to be brave and what it means to be tough and what it means, what masculinity means to us. I really do feel like that's going to be something that comes into the picture
yeah.
with this eclipse. I mean, obviously we're seeing a lot of kind of like unchecked, unlawful masculinity in
You can call it masculinity. It's just toxic.
it's toxic and we're calling it masculinity, right? So what does it really mean to be brave? These things that are traditionally associated with masculinity, like, kind of trying to get to the truth of that. Um, and again, I think that can also apply to a micro level in terms of like where is Aries in your chart? How do you handle conflict? How do you handle the more traditional masculine parts of yourself?
Hmm.
It's and I think there's a really important conversation to be had around you know creating conflict or being threatening or domineering over people. Is that really bravery? Is that really being tough? Or is that really actually coming from places of fear?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot going on with that, especially when we're seeing that where we've got that Mars trine with Saturn. And the sextile with Uranus. I do think that there's a lot of Martian conversations.
Hmm.
And what is a healthy expression of the Martian qualities? So, especially with that, oh my God, and the applying aspects to the North and South node in terms of fate and healing and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm.
The other, let's see. Saturn's in applying wide conjunctions in Mercury and Venus, so it's trying to like kind of bring some sort of uh foundation, you know. And then we have, I was thinking about Jupiter. It's so strange because he's almost out of the equation, except obviously he rules over, he's the traditional ruler of all those Pisces planets, but he's not really doing a lot in terms of like tight applications to other things. But I kind of went behind the scenes and I looked at that, the parallels and contraparallels because they can act as conjunctions and oppositions. And we have a contraparallel to Pluto from Jupiter. So this is like an opposition. And I'm thinking about judicial systems. I'm thinking about information coming out from behind the scenes that does essentially impact our way forward.
Right.
And they're having an argument, and maybe it's an argument that doesn't fully get to realize itself because they're not in a traditional sign-based aspect yet.
Right.
They've they're not quite there yet. So it's like something kind of ruminating in the background, that kind of conversation with the contraparallels. So it'd be interesting to just know what comes out around uh judges, courts, um, the wild ways that our judges aren't, or some are trying to hold, our administration accountable and having a hard time reining them in because now people are
And also probably their careers, potentially their lives being threatened for trying to uphold that, right?
what you're going through is so wild. Um, so wild. But as a personal point before we move on to the next day, if you have personal planets or points like an ascendant at and
What?
around the 9 degrees of Aries. So we're gonna go, would say 3 to 4 degrees behind that. So let's start at 4 degrees Aries through about 13 degrees Aries. Something's happening here, some sort of new something, new frontier, new horizon, new way forward is happening here that could feel very volatile, quite frankly, and very like a little bit erratic, a little bit full of electricity with that out of bounds Mars being the ruler of it. If you have anything on, especially if you have your axis, your 1, 4, 7, and 10 in the cardinal signs of, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, this is hitting you in kind of a more outward kind of way. But that's not to say that if you have Aries placements at this, or if you have cardinal placements at these degrees in other places of your chart, that they're not getting hit. It just might be experienced a little bit more internally for you. And so it's always good to just take a peek of your chart so you know what's happening, especially with eclipses. And if you have, if you've perfected to a year where the sun or the moon are being activated, it kind of doesn't matter even if you have points at 9 because you just have eclipses eclipsing you for the whole year. Or new moons and full moons doing what they're doing. So
Casey just did. That was a dig at me. This eclipse is hitting my ascendant within 1 degree.
it really is. It's trining some of my angular one of my angular planets. So I'm interested to see. I get the flowing aspect and Bender gets the direct hit.
It's going to be something big for me. But again, I'm in a very big turning point in my life anyway. So this isn't actually terribly surprising for me. I'm still very curious and a little novice. But yeah, it's going to be a big one. I'm also curious. Jupiter is kind of out of play in on the global stage when we're looking at this, but this is why it's really important to look at your own personal chart.
Yeah.
I'm curious about how Jupiter is going to play out in my chart because Mars in my chart is in Gemini. Uh,
Mhm.
so it could end up being, that Jupiter could come more into play for me personally.
Yeah. And you have a night chart, so it could come in, it's probably not going to do all the benefit of good that it could do, but it could maybe cool down Mars from being a hothead. It could bless the Martian principle, your drives and desires. It could, it's supposed to be good. It could also just offer a lot of data to it, like, hey, you want to do this?
And I love data, so
Yeah, some mercurial babes. Okay, so later in the evening, after the eclipse happens, 7:18 p.m., Mercury enters Pisces, still retrograde. We cannot forget we're still in retrograde period. Mercury will conjunct Neptune. So again, now he is full of vision and dream. Let's go into Sunday.
let's hop into Sunday. Because obviously Saturday is going to be a real big day for us. So we're concluding the week Sunday the 30th and at
Mhm.
12:20 a.m. So right at the beginning of the day, when we're all probably still asleep, we have a moon Chiron conjunction at 21 degrees. Whamp whamp.
Hey, how do you feel? How do you feel after that square?
How do you feel after that eclipse?
Hey, poke the wound.
Yeah, do you feel like shit right now? Can we continue to think about that?
Spicy. Like it's real like spicy because the moon in Aries has the potential to emotionally react so fast. And with Chiron being on Chiron and he's activated, I think that there's definitely a caution here and be careful with your bodies. Be careful with the habits that you typically have in order to create a sense of security and safety inside of yourself.
I would again, I'm feeling compelled to say again, if you're a person who struggles with addiction or, mental health stuff, just be super aware of what's going on, especially because the day before we're ending with that Mercury retrograde conjuncting Neptune.
Pisces. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the middle of the night, there's a moon conjunct Chiron. So just be really kind and gentle with yourself. Trust that these feelings will pass. This is going to be a little bit volatile
Yeah.
during this time. Probably no one's going to be feeling awesome.
Yeah, I definitely think, by the time people are awake on Sunday, they are feeling wiped out of sorts,
Yeah,
a bit electrified or like literally out of bounds.
yeah,
The moon square Mars, 2:17
yeah. We're going
2:17
from
a.m.
conjuncting Chiron, and then like 2 hours later, we've got Moon squaring that out of bounds Mars and Cancer.
So
So
it's still activating that square between Mars and Chiron. So it's just like boom, boom, and you're like, ouch, ouch, oh, fuck. Like
sad dreams. You might have sad dreams. I would say that this is I'm a good time to do some dream journaling and just paying attention to what information you're getting.
Yeah. I mean, it's really trying to push you forward in some way to make you want to take some sort of action, and that action's not necessarily very good.
I
4:25 a.m. Moon in Aries semi-sextile, Uranus in Taurus. I feel it feels like emotional deregulation.
Yeah, super dysregulated, especially Moon in Aries is, we're talking about that impulsivity of Aries being applied to your feelings and your body. So,
Uranus in Taurus is like Uranus is literally electricity, so it's just like impulsive.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um,
I
so
want that and I want that now, because Aries has that impulse of like, I'm going to go do this. And Taurus is like, I want this. So
yeah.
like those two don't go together necessarily, and they don't necessarily fit together as well as we want them to. They are averse to each other. Like one is security minded and one is experiential minded and like not so great. So,
And then we're moving into that semi-sextile with Venus and Pisces at 10:19.
mhm.
So again, we're talking about the two big feelings planets, Moon and Venus. And again, we're just revisiting that conversation between Pisces and Aries, between beginnings and endings. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just discomfort. I'm seeing like you might be irritable today.
Oh yeah.
So be careful about like picking fights or just like taking out your frustration on other people. I think Moon and Aries, when not comfortable, can be very, yeah, just. wanting to cause conflict for the sake of conflict.
Yeah, I think everything having to do until the moon enters Taurus at 1:16 p.m. Pacific Standard Time just feels like, again, kind of playing dodgeball with what's actually happening. And like the pieces probably from the eclipse are kind of falling into place, and you're like not feeling great about that.
You might
And
be playing dodgeball with your own impulses, honestly.
yeah, yeah, it definitely feels it's fiery, it's a little bit electrical, and then there's
Like
like,
all through the day, it keeps on hitting all the Pisces things, right? It's
yeah,
like not the
Aries, Pisces, Aries, Pisces, Aries, Pisces, like, so it's like, do we go backwards or do we go forwards? I think there's maybe something like that. Do we go back? Do we go forward? Do we go back? Are we
oh
like,
my God, that's absolutely what it's gonna feel like.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like, just being mindful that that energy exists, and you don't have to do anything about it in that moment. And then 1:16 p.m., moon enters Taurus. Now we have an exalted moon that wants to bring some calm,
Mhm.
some peace. It wants a blankie.
Wants a blankie. It wants some comfort
It
food.
wants some chocolate.
Yeah, it wants like some hot soup and then chocolate for dessert.
It's got that Venus in Pisces, as its Lord, that's like, okay, let's revisit our really like ooey gooeyest comforts here.
Mhm.
Let's get real calm with it. And so I think it's like after the gauntlet, we take a nap.
Yeah, yeah.
Take like, and I think it feels a little bit sleepy for the afternoon because the moon enters Taurus, but then
Probably going to be emotionally cooked at that point.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you can top it off.
I mean, the moon in Taurus, one of the things that it can tend to do, that it's being, it should do because the shadow of it, right, is to just like be really stuck in what it's comfortable with and not going deeper into the complexity of emotion that can be felt, because that's kind of this scary place.
Mhm.
Um,
Or it doesn't like scary
it
places.
can just like defer. It can just kind of defer and be like, no, I'm not going there. I'm just going to eat my chocolate and watch my show, and everything will be fine. You can't move me from this place. I am a cow in the field. I am chewing my cud. Like, fuck off.
Ferdinand just wants to sit and smell the flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't get to 6:52 p.m. We get that moon in Taurus square Pluto. Moon, Pluto, fixed square.
We're talking about really intense feelings here. Really,
This
really intense feelings coming
the
up.
bull getting mad,
Mhm.
the bull fired up, the bull now obsessed with maintaining its sense of security.
And as hyper focused on the thing that it has decided is threatening its security, right? 'Cause that's the Pluto, right? Just like honing in on something and being like, fuck that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
There's an invitation to, again, Pluto is about eliminating, especially when it hits by hard aspect. There is now this kind of awareness or push to eliminate a habit that no longer serves us, which could be literally the Taurus thing of my security is the only thing that matters, and I will do anything to maintain that sense of stability and security. And we don't get to because it's Pluto and Aquarius, and everybody's coming along for the ride, babe.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say is with the Pluto and Aquarius, I think that there's gonna be this intense want to just protect myself and go into my comfort zone when the moment just does not call for that.
No,
Uh,
we gotta move forward in a different way, and we gotta find new ways of being secure.
we have to consider other people. Moon and Taurus hates that. You know,
It's like, yeah, can hate that, but like, I think because it has Venus running as the circuit for it in the background, right? In Pisces, it is actually thinking about others. I think that there's something to, and both planets, both Moon in Taurus and Pluto in Aquarius being ruled by planets that are in Pisces. it is taking into consideration the larger vision and dream.
I think it's that we're going to be at a point where we want to prioritize our bodies and we're going to want to prioritize our comfort. And again, the moment just doesn't call for that. And we can't do that right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's going to feel a little, it's almost going to feel like getting kicked when you're down a little bit. Like you just need a break and the hits just keep coming. So I think we're going to see that. And that's kind of confirmed by that 725. There's a semi-sextile with the sun in Aries.
Comfort versus action. I want to be cozy.
Yeah.
And the sun is like, bro, we have horizons to go run into right now. And Taurus is like, I don't run.
Yeah.
I don't.
I
Just,
don't know unless
you know,
I'm pissed off.
I think that would be such a weird semi-sextile to have in a natal chart.
I know, right? Yeah, that would be.
You probably spend periods of time in your life where you're just like running and kind of avoiding all of your emotions, and then it just like breaks all of a sudden, and then you're just like on the couch, like
Yeah.
dreaming of adventure, but you're like, I can't move my body, you know?
Feel like if you have that in your chart, maybe there's like chronic illness or injuries that you end up getting where it's like you go, 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 and then all of a sudden you literally cannot.
Or not, yeah. It's that would be a really wild semi-sextile to have in the thing. But
Hit us up if you have that.
yeah, right. I want to know. I want to see your chart. We want to see your chart.
Show
We
us.
want to see your chart. We'll sit with you. Um, but that's the last aspect of the day for Sunday. So, I think the moon in Taurus is telling us to take comfort or try to get to back to a sense of emotional stasis and security and stability, the Taurus word stability, that we probably have not been feeling for the last few days.
It's like the definition of an eclipse season, right? It's just instability and uh, sudden changes.
I
Um,
think it's
yeah, I
that
think that
style.
that Moon in Taurus, stay tuned for next week. We'll see what Moon in Taurus is doing. But it definitely can offer kind of a bomb after a
Briefly,
count. Yeah,
briefly because of that Pluto. But like be willing to, if you were invited to go deeper and to feel intensely. I think the moon in Taurus wants to offer you a safe place to do it, um, even when it feels scary, right? Because it has to do with security. It always has to do with security and stability. And there's also this like call for simplicity that Pluto isn't going to allow the moon in Taurus to have with that square, where it's like, nah, that's a little bit, we need to broaden the kind of Aquarius thing. We need to get a little bit smarter about it. We need to think a little bit more collectively about what's going on for us.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to highlight for us how badly we all need each other. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that for whatever reason, what comes up that day, that might not feel quite so comfortable, even if you're a community-minded person. Uh, maybe you're just going to feel a little bit like a little alienated or a little isolated or whatever the eclipse is going to bring up for you. There's going to be a challenge point in understanding why
Mhm.
we need each other so much. Or we could just be suddenly put in a position where it's like we don't have a choice. We want to be independent. We want to
Mhm.
feel like we can handle our own shit, but we're absolutely going to need to let people help us. We all got to help each other through this eclipse.
Yeah.
hmm So,
Well, we did it, Bender. We got through all of it with 5 minutes to spare from your time limit.
yep.
So again, little reminder, please like and subscribe. If you made it this far, like you just listened to two yes, two Mercurials just like babble on. We are seeing clients. We have our contact information is in the description and on the end card. And yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with us, all 21 of you. Um, I don't know how many people listen to
That
us.
number keeps growing. Just
It was one more.
More
Yeah.
is a whole ass person who has dedicated their time and bits of their consciousness to listening to us. So thank you.
All right. Take care, y'all.
Guys. Bye.
Bye. And friends, we realized that we had not gone over the Neptune and Aries transit that happens on March 30th early in the morning, but we are planning on doing a separate small little episode in order to get that in. We just had a time constraint, and so we just went whoop out the brain. So hopefully you will stay tuned for that, and otherwise, we will see you next week. Take care.